Hello and welcome back to Coaster Barras. Today we're launching a brand new series, Front versus Back.
Where in each episode we will focus on one single park and discuss which seat on a ride we enjoy the most, some of which may be controversial.
And naturally, we're starting with our home park, Alton Towers. And first on the list is Nemesis Reborn.
The B&M invert that was originally born in 1994 but got a brand new rebirth in 2024. It was reborn in all its splendour. Now there's a lot to like about this ride, isn't there?
Yeah, apart from like the theming and everything, the ride is still incredible with just all of its elements. And how each one makes you feel and how each one just reflects on the ride itself and your experience on it.
Yeah, because it can really change no matter where you're around the seat. Now with Nemesis, of course, we've got 4 elements.
We do. We have the loop, we have 2 corkscrews, and the 0G station roll.
That 0G station roll is quite naughty, isn't it?
I love that.
It's so good. It's good on ride and off. It's just a splendor to look at. It's absolutely brilliant.
Especially with the smoke effects.
It is. But the question is, it's brand new. Of course, the G-force has been said it's been free, and we've seen upwards of 4 or 4.5. It's kind of all over the place right now, isn't it? We don't know how strong it is.
No, but you can tell how it feels when you're on it. Like when we went on it in March was completely different to how we went back on it in April.
Yeah, in March it was kind of crippled. She was an injured beast rising from the depths, and it was a bit more, let's just say, slow and rattly.
Yeah, and you actually preferred Shadows of Arkham before.
Yeah, at the time there's a B&M invert with 5 inversions at Parquet Warner, Shadows of Arkham, and I was like, yeah, I don't get the hype about Nemesis, because I never rode the original, unlike Sarah, who was a veteran of Nemesis.
I was, yeah, it was great.
But when we went back in last month, in April and such, and in May, it was entirely different, because she got back up to speed, and it was so forceful. And that's what comes into the question of, what seat do you prefer and why? So the question is, which do you prefer?
I like each one for different experiences. So as I've said before in previous vlogs, if you're in the front, you feel like you're being pushed into every single element, which makes things forceful and more extreme sometimes, depending on what element it is really. And on the back, you're getting pulled into it. So if you go over a hill or if you go down over the loop or something, you're getting pulled into it, which makes it a lot more crazy sometimes. So it's very hard to decide which one you like best.
Yeah, it all depends on what you prefer, whether you get pushed into elements or pulled. It's one of those really difficult things to choose sometimes, but
there is always one that has the edge over the other, apart from one, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, there's a bit of a controversial one later, so stick around for that one. So, have you actually decided which you prefer the most? We don't know which of us prefer, besides maybe the controversial one, but
I'm gonna go with the front, and the reason for that is sometimes when you're going into an element, I find when the helix or underneath the tunnels, it just automatically speeds up when you're at the front, which for some reason I don't get as much from the back, even though the back's more whippy, which is interesting. I think maybe it's the extra push that you get at the front.
I think it is, because I don't know which you thought I was going to go for, but it's also the front. The front adds to the intensity throughout the ride, because the thing about Nemesis Reborn, it's quite whippy and intense as you're getting pulled and pushed through the elements depending on your seat regardless, but it's the time between the elements where it really makes a difference, because it's always intense the entire way around, and at the front I just think that adds to it tenfold. It just feels like you're getting your face ripped off by the wind.
And the view is incredible.
The view, yeah, because the view's always an important thing.
Exactly, you don't want a set of seats in front sometimes.
No, because let's face it, B&M inverts, they are quite ugly from behind. You don't really see much.
Yeah, they are.
And sticking with Forbidden Valley, we have the world's first flying coaster, Galactica.
Now, Galactica, not as extreme as a lot of rides in the park, but it's got its, pros as well, like the fact that it's weightless. I just love flying around, especially when you're on your back. It just feels like you're in a bed.
It does. It's like the ultimate chill factor ride. Now, I remember when you first took me to Alton Towers, all those many moons ago, those decades ago. And
I made you go on Galactica first, which you weren't very happy about, because you were like, why did you get me to go on the one that's really weirdly put on the ride?
Yeah, because if anyone's obviously seen it or has been there before, you realise your first impression when you walk into the station, the seats raise and you're facing the floor, full 90-degree turn, and you're kind of like, what? I was like, why this? But yeah, once I got on it, I realised it's not as intimidating as it looks. That was like a reawakening for me with my roller coaster passion. And it was kind of like, yeah, this is just really enjoyable, really chill. You're flying through the air. Of course, it was cold air, so that's the entire point before they went with the VR craze. which
I actually got on.
You did, yeah, and you said it was amazing.
I actually quite liked it. I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people complained about it not syncing up, but I remember going on it for the first time and I was just like, you can feel the elements of obviously the ride underneath you because you can't see it. You just literally feel like you're flying through space, which I actually thought was really great.
But when it comes to elements on Galactica, there's not really many like ones you see in other coasters besides flying coasters. Of course, you've got the initial drop from the lift hill, which is actually pretty lovely, isn't it? I get like a little thrill from that every time I go on it.
Oh yeah, that just initial drop, especially on the front.
Oh yeah.
It's always on the front, that just like drop. And they've had it to hold while the rest of the back is kind of like falling with you. You just get just like held in midair for a moment. And it's just, yeah, it's fabulous.
But besides the initial drop, one of the unique features like Galactica and other flying rides have is the fly to lie and lie to fly feature, where you essentially are flying facing the ground, you flip over facing the sky and vice versa, which we think is rather smooth.
Oh yeah, the whole ride is just smooth from start to finish. There's nothing jerky about it. It just rides like a dream, actually.
Yeah, because you mentioned it was like a bed, and many times at the park, Sarah's mentioned she could literally fall asleep on that ride. It's that chill. So the question is, front versus back.
I don't think it's really not that obvious, this one. I prefer the front. For the reason, like I said, I just love the fact that you're held at the top of that, the lift hill for a while, just looking down at the ground, slowly steeping forward, ready to drop in the ground. And it just, yeah, it just makes it.
Yeah, I have to sadly agree. We're 2 for 2. But yeah, I'm the front, because it's like a coaster that you feel is built for that view.
But yeah, the front is just fabulous. You can just look forward, even when you're looking down, and you can just see the whole ride laid out in front of you and the entire, well, like the area where the ride is as well, which is great.
It's beautiful.
But there's one terrifying ride left in Forbidden Valley. What's that, you say? The Blade. Well, at least according to Steve.
It is terrifying. I mean, it was terrifying. It still kind of is, but it isn't.
It's not terrifying.
No, you see,
there's literally toddlers going on this ride, and like honestly, those kids are fearless.
Hey, my hands are in the air these days too. I'm always up there like this.
You weren't saying that in the beginning.
Yes, because right, I understand you being held in by centrifugal force, but that thing is outright dangerous. The things don't touch your legs at all. The lap bars are all the way up here. It goes nowhere near you. And hey, if you wanted to stand up on that, you probably could and do like a Assassin's Creed, you know, like leap of faith.
No, it is held. You are held in though.
Yeah,
I don't think you could. I think if you tried to stand up, your butt would be pushed back into its seat.
Either way, I managed it early in the days. I wasn't that embarrassing on the ride when I first was on there.
You really was.
I mean, I totally wasn't just holding onto the bars, squeezing, so my arms are going red with
literally
like,
going, I am not ever going on this ride ever again. He's said that a few times, and I was like, but you have to go on it. And then he did, eventually. And then, actually, he started to like it, didn't you?
Well, the way we did it was, I was like, right, if you want me to keep getting on this ride, since it's completely unsanitary and unsafe, it's dangerous in every way imaginable. Personally, I was like, we'll start with the front row and we'll work our way back to the back.
Whereas I'm one of these, plunge you in at the deep end, let's start with the back, but no, scaredy cow over here. Had to start at the front.
I almost died 3 times.
You didn't. You're so melodramatic.
It was, I was literally, the ambulance was called down and everything. It was so dramatic.
Literally, you're gonna scare some people now.
But regardless, I got over that fear eventually, and let me just say it's one of the best rides at the park for getting my stomach drop feeling, because it's very rare I get that on coasters anymore now. It happens a few times on the gigantic rides or when you get surprised. But the Blade, every time on the back row, with the arms up in the air, butt off the seat with that weightlessness, what happens to me?
Stomach drop.
Yeah, every time. It's nice and consistent and it lasts a while, which is why it's one of my favourite rides at the park that I always loved.
No, you didn't.
I think it's safe to say you prefer the front row.
Hell no. The back. People, the back. I mean, you go the tallest, you have the more like sort of weightless feeling, and like, just, it's great. Looking down at the very bottom of the ride, on the other side, where you can see the other people on the back when you're in high in there, and then vice versa, you can look up at them when you're at the bottom. It's fabulous, it's great.
It is, and that's why, again, sadly, we also agree on this. It is the back row.
But now we're moving on to the Dark Forest with Alton's hydraulic launch coaster, the Queen of Speed herself, Rita.
The old gal. She's getting on in age now, isn't she, a bit? She's getting a bit rickety in her age.
She is quite old now, isn't she?
Yeah, she's just like rattling along the track, especially at the back and the little Zimmer frame and stuff. But she's still an old beaut.
She is, and the speed is pretty decent.
It is. Alton Towers themselves say it's 100 kilometers per hour, or if you're English, 62 miles per hour. But the Wikipedias kind of disagree.
And Coasterpedia says.
And Coasterpedia, yeah, they say, what, 61 miles per hour?
Yeah, 1 mile per hour less.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hardly a difference, is it? But either way, she's got some insane speed that remains rather...
Punchy.
Yeah, punchy. It's consistent. It's all the way through the ride. You never get any kind of like slowdown till the very end.
Yeah, until you hit the brake run, in which case you're like blasted forward at the, like, just the brakes come on straight away, which is quite funny.
Yeah, and unlike Stealth at Fort Park, it's actually quite long. It's just obviously not as vertical.
No, it's just horizontal, going around in a sort of, I suppose, semi-helixy type way.
But besides that, the G-force is pretty beefy, isn't it?
It is actually not too bad at all. It's 4.7 Gs.
Which is a nice punchy launch. I personally don't think it's obviously as powerful as Stealth, but it's still really good for what it feels like.
Oh yeah, and bearing in mind Stealth is going vertical, so it does feel a bit more crazy than rear.
I mean, that's what, 0 to 18, 1.7, 1.6?
Yeah, whereas this is 0 to 61/2, depending on who says it, in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, it's a slight difference.
Exactly. But sitting at the front makes it so much better. You know, when you're watching like the green lights go in and it's just beep, beep, beep. And then it's like you feel it pull back and then suddenly it just launches forward.
Keep your head back. Hold on tight.
You must escape.
Go, go, go! It's so good. Usually you won't queue a crazy amount of times for it, but it's usually empty early in the day, so you can always get a good few rides in. But
we like queuing for the front.
we really like queuing for the front, which might be a bit of a spoiler.
Yeah, just a little bit, maybe. Yeah, no, I prefer the front on Rhea.
I really do, yeah, same, front.
But Rita's not the only gem in the forest, as we have another world's first with 13.
Yeah, and it's got a really cool secret element in there. We can't mention it because spoilers. I know a lot of you probably been on it and know what the secret element is, but just for everyone else, we want to avoid talking about it. And if you've been on it before, you know there's not much to talk about anyway. So regarding the ride, what do you like about it?
What do I like most about 13? I don't know, it's one of those rides. I remember whenever it first came out and I was so excited to go on it, it made me go back to Alton Towers for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I mean, initially it's a very slow ride. You come out of the station, no lift till until you come around the corner, and then you get a relatively nice, thrilling drop for a family coaster.
It is, and then like you just go through the forest, which is like really nice and like fits so well within the dark forest.
Exactly, then you go into a few more bits and then into the secret element range. We're not going to go too much into detail. If you know, you know. If you don't spoil yourself because you'll ruin the ride.
And there is nothing better than hearing people for the first time on 13.
Yeah, during the secret element phases, it's a beautiful thing to hear the reactions. I'm sure you've done it yourself. I'm sure you've trolled people at times, and it's a glorious thing to do because it's helping people get the most out of the ride. So naturally, we can't go too into detail because we're not spoiling, but the question is...
Front versus back.
This is a hard one. This is a draw type of one.
Yeah, you know, at one point, I always liked the front. And the reason for that is because I always thought that at the back, there's a bit in it where it's dark. And I always thought that you wouldn't get that same sort of feeling if you were at the back, but then we actually realized that's not a problem at all. And then I preferred the back. It's
a case of when a coaster is fairly decent on both sides, and in this case, you don't really care too much about the view since you're going through the forest and it's all around you anyway, encapsulating you. It's kind of like, the back's probably better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind sitting in any seat in 13. I'm not one of those where it's just like, no, give me the front, or no, give me the back. I'm just like, yeah, I'll sit wherever, it doesn't matter. But if we did have the choice, I would probably pick the back as well.
Yeah, we usually do go further back because I think the only main difference of it is the initial drop. That's the only time you'll notice a difference between front and back row on that ride.
Yeah, because on the back you do get whipped over the edge. Like obviously on other coasters we've said the front because you're slowly dropping into the drop, which is really fun. And I like it in a lot of coasters, but for 13, and I do like it on 13, I do on the front, but just, I don't know, there's something about the back just being whipped over the top super fast and then just like going straight down is like really quite fun.
Yeah, we like being whipped.
We do.
Over the back. of the track. The track. So on the way to the X sector, we can't really forget about the Spinball Whizzer now, can we?
Well, it's the front, isn't it?
The front's definitely good, but I prefer the back.
We jest. We really do jest. We know that it's spinning coaster.
Spinning coaster. There is a front, there is a back, but does it?
They interchange all the time. So either way, wherever you're sat, you're gonna be going either way pretty much all over the ride. There was one time where we actually got stopped near the end of it. We were just spinning constantly around. That was like a really good spin on that one. It was just fabulous.
Gotta love a good spin.
You do.
But in all seriousness, it's time to move on to the world record holding 14 inversion roller coaster, the Smiler.
Yeah, the Smiler is definitely one of those rides that, you know, everyone has to experience. And when it's riding good, it's riding good. But then at other times, it's a bit rough.
Yeah, because 14 inversions is insane. It's not like a 14 inversion, like you might think that doesn't sound too many if you look at Colossus or Sick with 10 inversions. But keep in mind, this is 14 packed into a very tight space, so it's extremely chaotic. And we've took friends there before who've never been on it, and they've come off with bruised shoulders. But there is a pretty decent airtime on there as well, isn't there, at some points? Just a few.
Yeah, I mean, literally there's this hill when you first go over it every single time. I'm like, airtime!
Yeah, the airtime hill. It's got a little trim brake on it which slows you down as you go over, but it's...
and your butt comes off the seat every time. I just can't help but say airtime every time we go on it.
We usually both do. We're both screaming airtime like idiots, and people around us are thinking, what the hell is wrong with these two people? But it's also got 2 lift hills.
It does. The second one is kind of crazy. I remember the first time I went on it, and like just the fact that you feel like you're almost falling out backwards. So even though it's a vertical lift hill, it almost feels like you're going sort of like more than vertical.
Beyond vertical.
Yeah, beyond vertical. So like you feel like you're almost like falling backwards out of it as you go up. And I remember that like the first few times I used to hate that element. And then actually now I quite like it actually. It's kind of a weird feeling.
It is. Plenty of people have a mare on that. An intense mare when they're going up that
they do.
Vertical lift hill.
Especially on the back.
Oh, the back. Well, like you said, at the back feels like you're falling out, and the front you just get a really good view. And it's not as intense as like a normal like Gerstlauer Eurofighter, because of course it's an infinity coaster, so you don't get a big beyond vertical drop after it, but it's still, you know, I think people think it's worse the more it is when they're going up it.
Yeah.
And it's a nice chill glide around that.
Yeah, and then the drop is kind of just like slowly going down and then round and then more inversions. Surprise.
More inversions. Although my favourite inversions only have to be the double corkscrews at the end. And as with most coasters, you should always try and like learn the ride layout so you can kind of lean into the elements, because it usually makes the ride better. But with a Smiler, it's almost a must. And if you don't do that on a double corkscrew at the end, you'll be beaten up.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the bruise maker for sure.
It is. It's definitely a big one, especially with the inconsistent RAL and the rain, which makes it worse. It's not one of those that benefits well from rain. It speeds up, but gets...
Yeah, there's a few times where you can hear it trimming on certain bits, and like you can just feel it going, and then it's just, yeah, it can give you a headache sometimes.
But the question is...
Front versus back?
You first or me first this time?
I can go first if you want.
Go on then. Let's see if it's a surprise.
I prefer the front.
Damn it.
Did you pick the front as well?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Honestly, I thought you were going to go for the back.
No, the reason is... There's not much of a difference between back and front as far as like airtime, G-force.
No, on the Smiler it is very similar. Obviously, like I said, on the in vertical lift hill on halfway through, the back kind of feels more crazy going over the back. But I just love the front. I don't even know why sometimes. I think it's just like that first initial bit when you come out of the station building and then you go down the loop and you just kind of like just roll over it. It's really fun. And then you just see the elements just laid all out in front of you, and I love that. It looks like a crazy massive track, which just is great.
Yeah, so to simplify, I agree. It's the view.
Yeah, and directly across from the marmalizing Smiler, we have the world's first drop coaster, Oblivion. It's got an intense 180-foot drop, half of which you can't actually see.
No, you can't, because the ride's, what, 65-ish feet off the ground, so a lot of people don't realise how far it goes down into the depths of the earth.
Yeah, which makes it actually a lot better, because like you just hear people screaming when they realise it's going a lot further than you think.
It is, and even though it's not a complete vertical, it's just a few degrees short, it was still revolutionary at the time, and it was the world's first vertical drop.
And you can't tell when you're on it.
But yeah, besides the intense drop, which is still amazing, because it all depends on the pause they give you. They used to give very long pauses when the ride launched. If you look at old vlogs, or you could call them ancient vlogs.
I remember going on it before in the past, and like the drop, you could be up there for like 20 seconds. Right, so now leading on to what we're actually here for, which is front versus back. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
I'll go first for once.
Okay.
I'll try and throw you a curveball. The front.
Oh, for goodness sake.
What?
I like the front as well. But now we have to make a pit stop in Catania Canyon on the way back to the front of the park for Runaway Mine Train.
What is there to say about Catania Canyon's Runaway Mine Train?
You know, for a like junior mine train coaster, I actually really like it. It's really quite good fun, especially on the back. I just find it quite whippy. It's faster than you expect, really, for a family coaster. Yeah, I actually really enjoy it. Not to mention that bit coming into the like station building where you're kind of going really slow and then you nearly fall on me every time and squish me.
Yeah, I'm normally on the left side, and let's just say, you know, sometimes I'm a bit weightier. I do vary a bit because I try to, you know, bulk up, be a big strong man and all that kind of thing, so...
He eats too much.
No, I've got a very dainty diet, thank you very much.
He likes his sweet food.
Yeah, I like carrots. Very sweet.
Cake.
Carrot cake.
Yeah, that's probably it.
It's got fruit in it. It's got fruit, it's fruit.
It's a vegetable.
But yeah, as you come back into the station, you bank right. It's orange. You bank right, and obviously I end up crushing you sometimes.
Yeah, I really should learn. Why do I not go on the left side? I just always end up on the right for some reason.
Which seat do you prefer?
The back. Always the back. What?
Back. And of course, we saved the most controversial one for last. And it's not just controversial for us, it's more controversial for everyone else because we know there's quite a few opinions dividing this ride. And we are joining the Bjornen for the
Wickerman.
This ride is pretty intense throughout. It's a classic at Alton Towers now.
Yeah, I absolutely love Wickerman. And until Nemesis Reborn came back, it was definitely my favourite coaster at the park. I mean, it's kind of up there. It's probably second now.
As you can kind of tell with
yes,
the shirt.
as you can tell with the shirt. I mean,
Got
the
old
flames, everything.
The flames, old Bob, it's all going on down
track.
there. The track, everything. You probably can't see much behind here.
No,
but
you
yeah,
can't. But I have like a lot of merch from Wickerman.
You do. It's like, there's a full wardrobe of Wickerman actually. Like my clothes get thrown on like the couch and stuff. I don't even get nowhere to put them. It's just all Wickerman.
The shock.
The truth.
I've got all the rides too. It's just, Wickerman's just fabulous. I just love it, especially with the fireworking again. It's back up to, you know, what it's supposed to be.
It is, and it's what I like to call like a mini wooden airtime machine, because it's not really built for airtime, I don't think. It's more for intensity, but you get airtime at several points throughout it.
Oh yeah, your butt is off the seat. Now, I hate the front. It's not even a question of I don't mind the front, I hate it. Literally, you go on the front and like, just nothing. You get nothing. I don't get anything. I know loads of people like it. I know a lot of you probably like it too. But I just can't like it. There's just, I'm sorry. There's just nothing I like about the front. The back though, I could talk for days about the back. The back is incredible. If you go from like row 8 backwards, any of those, I mean obviously row 12 is the optimal position. But anywhere from row 8 back, I love it. It's great. Airtime, butts off the seat half the time, and you're just running around that thing, getting pulled from element to transition, and yeah, it's just great from start to finish.
I'm pretty useless at this point in the video because, you know, you can see how Sarah's a massive fan of it considering just a few spoilers, just a bit of a tangent there going full force. See, the problem with Wickerman is we have said a million times to the staff, like, we prefer going, we don't ask for the back, we just say, can we go further back, please? Like row 8 onwards. And most of the time they are really respectful and say, yeah, you can. If it's really busy, they say, obviously they can't do it, which we understand. But if you get row 6, 5, it's kind of all right, but it's still not good. But if you get in row 1, it feels like you are being dragged back by the coaster. It'll speed up on the drops, for example, at the first drop, but then you get pulled back and slowed down. It just doesn't feel good, and you get 0 airtime.
Yeah, your butt does not leave the seat. I mean, some people it might, but unfortunately for us, we've just never had a good ride on the front.
Nope.
It's kind of disappointing.
We've tried it in rain, sunshine, snow, desert sands.
Literally at the end of the day, because we had no choice but go at the back front, so yeah.
It just doesn't improve at the front at all. And again, if you like it, we are definitely happy for you. But for us, we do really love that intensity of being whipped over the airtime hills, the first drop, and the fact that we get our butts thrown right out of the seats. And it's just a brilliant ride for that. So naturally, I prefer the front.
Yeah, not sure.
Obviously, it's the back.
Yeah.
But of course, it all depends on what you guys think as well. We seem to agree all the way through somehow. I don't know how it aligns, stars align, they just happen that way.
I know, I'm quite shocked by that.
Yeah, so am I, but I'm sure some of you might disagree with us, and we'd love to hear why you like different seats and why you like them. And with that being said, be like a barra.
And keep coasting.
Bye-bye, don't forget to like and subscribe.